Hi everyone, it's Kerry Jeffrey from Emotional Autoimmunity. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, counsellor and life coach, and I work with people exclusively online all around the world, helping them overcome the overwhelm, the trauma and the anxiety of living life with chronic illness. And I want to talk to you today about the second biggest fear of chronic illness. And if you missed the first one, you can have a look on the page and go back and see the first one that I posted just last week about the first biggest fear of chronic illness, which is what if it keeps getting worse? The second biggest fear of chronic illness is if you're in a relationship, and that fear is, what if my partner leaves me? What if I become so much of a burden? What if they have to do all of these things that I can no longer do? What if they get sick of me being sick and eventually they leave me and I will be alone and I won't know how I'm going to support myself? And there's so much fear in this because chronic illness is life-changing. It's something that the people around you don't understand just how much your whole life changes from what you can physically do to what you can emotionally do to the amount of motivation and function that you've got. It does change everything about your life. And the people around us just don't understand that because they're still living with that old model of sickness, which is we get sick and then we get better, or we get sick and we die. There's really no concept out there or structure for how chronic illness is, and we're all just left to find our own way. Now, the biggest issue that creates this fear is that you feel guilty. So you feel guilty for not being a good enough partner, you feel guilty for not being a good enough parent, you feel guilty for not being able to do enough at work, you feel guilty because you feel like you're constantly letting everybody in your life down. And that guilt just becomes crippling. And that guilt makes you feel that how could they possibly still love me? How could they possibly not resent all the changes that are going on? How could they not get sick and tired of this because I'm sick and tired of this? And the most important thing that you need to understand and realize when you're living with chronic illness, you are still as worthy, still as valuable as you were before, in a different way. But the essential you is still as lovable and worthy and deserving as you were before. And the biggest driver of guilt, and this is what I've experienced with all of my work now with clients all around the world, is that guilt is that belief that we did something to make this happen, or that we're not trying hard enough, or that we're too weak, or that we must have done something wrong, or that we're being punished for something. So we blame ourselves for the illness, and because we blame ourselves, we feel like it's something we've done, and then we feel guilty. To start setting yourself free from this guilt, there's two things that you need to do. The first thing you need to do is understand chronic illness is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't create this. This is one of the cosmic car accidents that just randomly happens to people who didn't do anything to deserve it. It's just one of the bad things that happens to good people. So let yourself off the hook for creating it. All right? It's not your fault. The second thing you need to do is understand that you are not a burden. You are only a burden if you choose to see yourself as one. If you're going to blind your eyes to all the wonderful things you still offer the people in your life, like your wisdom, your compassion, your understanding, your love, then that's closing your eyes to the amazing person that you are. You're an amazing person dealing with a very difficult situation. And while you're not responsible for getting the chronic illness, how you deal with it, how you choose to see yourself with the chronic illness, that is within your control. So if you're feeling guilty, if you're feeling like a burden, if you're frightened that your partner's going to leave you, do those two things. If you can't do those two things for yourself, then I highly recommend you book in your free discovery session with me. You can do that on my Emotional Autoimmunity page. You can do that from my Emotional Autoimmunity website, or you can do that using the link in the bio of my Emotional Autoimmunity Instagram post. So don't allow yourself to be stuck in that guilt. Don't allow yourself to be stuck in that fear, all right? It's not necessary. You didn't create the chronic illness. You're not responsible for it. You are still as worthy and deserving and amazing as you were before, in a slightly different way, right? And you get to choose how you see yourself. So I'm going to keep working my way through the list. I've got 3 more to go. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you got some value from this, please feel free to share it and pass it on. Bye.